Okay, I'm gonna install this rocker box cover, but first I'm gonna use some silicone on these water passages because they're eroded and I don't want no leaks. So just a little bit of silicone around here. That. Okay, got a little bald spot right here. Anyway, this will go on, and then I'll have to put some on the rocker box too, because it's kind of eroded too. Now, did I get that where I needed it? Not really. Not really how I wanted it, but I'll wipe the excess off that's squished out here. So on this one, I'll put it on the rubber. That way I know we're in the right spot. Okay, there we go. So now I think I'm ready to put that box on. So I really wish I had some studs or something to guide this down on, but I don't. So here we go. There's some dowels on it to get it down where it's supposed to go. If I can get it, there we go. All right, so these rocker boxes are not all the same. So this one here has a hole in the front for the water. Comes up into the housing and the thermostat goes in it. The other boxes are the same. So we're on there. So now we just got to get some bolts in it. So pretty sure these go in here like that. Wonder if I should put oil on these. What do you think? I don't know. Probably wouldn't hurt to leave the threads a little bit. Yeah, it goes in a lot better. Let's take this one back out. Put some goo in it. Little goo. Okay, the question today is Jeff gonna get anything done? I hope so. Hope I can get all these boxes in, injectors in, get everything adjusted correctly. Okay, one there. I keep thinking I possibly forgot something. But I've been doing my looking in the book and checking for any additional seals, O-rings anywhere. I was going to put the injectors in. I texted Brian, said, hey, can I do that before I put these on? And then I realized, no, I can't, because this is an STC motor. And you've got oil pipes that are going to go in the injector and then out the holes. Where do they go? Right there inside. Okay, so now, got one more here. And then I've got a couple of bolts on the outside here. And they have short studs on them for holding stuff down, so I've got to go find those. So these are the bolts that go in this outside. And I don't remember which ones had rubber and which ones didn't. They're used for holding down wiring harnesses and other whatnot. So these are just a 3/8 bolt. I think these bigger ones are 85 foot-pounds and these are 35. Alright, so now I gotta find a socket to fit these. So my torque wrench is already set. This is an inch-pound 3/8. It's already set to 35 foot-pounds, so I'm just gonna lightly snug them before I start really torquing them down. Because of that silicone, I may even let them sit for just a little bit. Because of that fact, Jack. Bring them down. It's bringing them down. Those are 96 so I gotta go to the other socket. I gotta get
a plug in this front cover for the water. So a plug goes in here, and then a pipe, and you got to shove it in there as deep as you can so you can get the other box on, and then you got to get a hold of that and slide it into the other box. And then I'll have to do that one more time here, and then there'll be a plug in the back box. Come on. All right, kiddies. I've got number 1 cylinder together. Man, that's a lot of crap to put in there. So, got my push tubes in. I'd numbered all those, so they're going right back where they were. So tip of the day, when you put your injector in, make sure that you put the hold down clamp down in there at the same time, because you cannot get the hold down clamp in, at least that I could see, after the injector's in. So I had to lift these back out. They go in pretty nicely. They tell you to lube the O-rings with oil just before installation. And then the other thing is you got your STC tube here, and it's got an O-ring down here, so you have to get it down and get it all together. But you can pretty much push it to the bottom by hand. They tell you to take a 1/16" socket up on this and whack it with a mallet to make sure it's seated. And they were. So I'm getting ready to put the crossheads on. So I just been putting secret sauce on everything. Clyde, I've just about used this entire thing as secret sauce. This has been a lifesaver. So you got 2 size holes. You got a large one and a small one. So your large one goes to the exhaust side. And these were already numbered when we took them off. And we numbered them on the exhaust side. So this is 3 and 4. So that's how it's going to go on. Small hole to the intake side, large hole to the exhaust side. Okay, so that's all in there nice. I don't know, they flop back and forth on the exhaust side pretty good. I do not know why they did that. There's got to be a reason. So then I always put a little secret sauce on these, on the bridges, cross heads, whatever. Some on the injector pucky deal. So the other deal is the injector, this link comes up out of there. It's just got like a plastic ring that holds it. And that socket's dry when you get it. So I always pull it up out and put some secret sauce in there. So now I need to get another shaft. And so on the rocker arms, we just went 1, 1, and then this will be 2, 2, 2. Shaft and some rockers. So all these rockers, the adjusters have been screwed clear out, and they tell you in the book to make sure that your exhaust and intake rockers from this top to here are at least like 1.25 1.5 inches, I can't remember. Otherwise you could run into some problems when you rotate the engine over. So you really can't screw this up. So this one has a stop up in there for the dowel that's in there, and then it's pinned on this side, and it's only going to go on there one way. And if it doesn't plop down like that, you've done something wrong. And they should just plop right on. So let's get out the old secret sauce. Put some on there, and then I go in the bushing, and then I go on the outside because this is the war side, so this is gonna run up against the rocker injector. So you want some lube on that. And this one's going to go on. I'm going to go ahead and dump them in there. There. Once you get that dowel lined up and that one, they just flop right down on. Now, I gotta make sure that they're in the sockets.
Đó, học mò học mẫm mới biết được, chứ không có ai mà ở đất nước Việt Nam này mà chỉ mình mà tận miệng chỉ tận tay cho các bạn. Mình chỉ xem trên mạng giờ mình học thôi các bạn. Thì nói chung mình cũng cảm ơn những anh em nào mà lâu nay cũng đã giúp mình. Nói chung không nhiều thì cũng ít, cũng có những anh em tư vấn cho mình nhiều thứ. Mình cũng cảm ơn mấy anh em nhiều lắm. Qua video này mình xin chân thành cảm ơn mấy anh em rất là nhiều nha. Còn những ai mà không thích mình thì thôi, có thể xem vui chơi thôi, rồi xem xong thì bỏ qua nha. Rồi, cái máy này thì mình đã ráp nắp flash xong rồi, mình cũng đã bắt một cái bệ cam. Đây. Mình đã gá một cái bệ cam vô để mình jamming đo cái thông số góc cam nha mấy bạn. Thì ở đây mình cũng đã đo rồi nè. Đây đúng theo thông số kỹ thuật của nhà sản xuất đưa ra nha.
I don't know. I'm not a Cummins guy, but I'm sure learning. I'm learning a lot of Cummins stuff, which I'll probably forget shortly. Because it's just stuff I don't want to remember. I'm not going to be doing another one of these next week. So I was going to show you too. So before you get too carried away and start, putting all these rocker arms in there, this is the STC manifold. So let me show you what it looks like. There is O-rings that go here, and then there's O-rings on the tubes that were inside that hole that have to go inside here. And so when you put this on, what you end up doing is those tubes don't come out these holes exactly right. So you gotta have room to stick your finger down in here and just push them down a little bit till you can feel them start in there. And then this goes right on, piece of cake. Okay, it's time to put this other rocker box on. I have put silicone around the bottom of this gasket and then put it on, then put some around the top. And then the other thing you got to do is insert this water pipe, and it's always got to go in the back box because that's the deepest hole. And that allows you to set this in and then slide that into the unit ahead of you. Ow! Yeah, did we go on? Wow, that was amazing. Fell on. Literally fell on. So now all you got to do is take a screwdriver and get into this, pull this into this other head until that one and that one are even, and there you go. I just got to get the little deal that goes in there and bolt it up to hold it. So I've put number 2 box on, and I figured, why don't I just keep going and get number 3 on, so that way I can set the torque wrench. I have to torque these in 3 sequences. That way I can just go through and torque it all. Then I can get all my injectors in, get them all torqued down, get my manifolds on, and then put all the valve rocker components in and get them torqued down and be done with that. So the only other thing we got to do next is got to go through those Jake boxes. Yummy, clean those up. That is one thing I have not messed with yet, so I might be having to buy some Jake parts, some tune-up parts. You know, these old Cumminses are they're actually quite a bit of work, just because all the parts and crap that are on them. If you had a overhead cam engine, I just don't think you'd have near as many components. I mean, you put the heads on and your camshafts in the head. You really don't have it. You just put stuff in there. Put your rocker arms, all that stuff, just bolt them in there. You don't have these damn boxes and water passages, all that fun stuff. You don't have them damn little tubes that carry fuel from cylinder to cylinder or head to head. That's a Cummins original right there. I'll tell you what. So there's only one way these go in. They didn't drill and tap that hole for the C-clip, whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna drop this while I'm holding the camera. So that goes in here like so. And then you got to get the bolt in the hole. I sure hope those seal. We cleaned up those housings, but man, I hope, you know, if those leak or blow the seal out, you got a mess to fix that. That was probably, in my way of thinking, that was probably one of Cummins' dumbest ideas. So on the old ones, you literally had a water manifold. And when I put those heads down where that gasket was, you saw it has two holes, but it only has one set of bolts that go in it. So anyway, however the old rocker boxes used to be, it didn't have this water passage stuff through it. This is just a super shitty idea waiting for a failure. Because when they become corroded, what are you going to do? Buy a whole box? $500,000, $1,500 box? Or you got to take it to the machine shop and have them bore them and sleeve all of them. So that's just one of the things about Cummins. I just think that was really a dumb idea to do this. I mean, they weren't thinking down the road to when a guy has to repair this stuff. And when they reman them, they probably just throw them away. I bet those were new boxes when it got remanned. I bet they were brand new because they had pretty machine marks. They still got pretty machine marks on the top and bottom. So they've never had a roll lock disc taken to them or a nasty gasket scraper. But I digress. I am rambling. All right, these are your tubes. So you got this little grommet that goes over this, and that's going to go down in that 1/3/8 bolt hole. And then this is the O-ring that's going to go up in the injector, and this is one that's going to go out into the manifold. So you just take them and pop them through the hole and push this down in till it's at the bottom of the head. There's that. Okay, we've got our grommets and O-rings on. Grommets and O-rings. Bloody hell. Bloody hell. So this got to go in there. And you just push that down in the threads till she's down. And there you go. Then when the injector goes in, it will go on those O-rings right there. So I think it's time to torque all this down. That's what I'm thinking. So I'm going to do that. sure you don't want to watch that shit. Okay, we're gonna put some injector noids in here, injector conoiders. I'm gonna put some super slick 'em on the O-ring down here. Got to have your super slick 'em. We're gonna put it on all these O-rings here. You got this? You got it? You watching? Are you paying some attention here? So we're gonna lube these babies up. So these have been remans since 2002. Do you think I ought to jack a few drops of oil in the fuel inlet screen? Do you think that would be wise or stupid? This got to go down in here, and that's got to come right behind it, I think. Actually, you got to get it down, I think down in here and around like that. Like this, something like that. Like this and like that. Okay, like that. Okay, got to make sure that tube's lined up. We're straight. And there it goes. Click all the way to the bottom. Okay, as you noticed, I've left the links out. I will do the linky thing last. See, this has to go back behind here like this. And then the injector down the hole. Down the hole there. Down the hole, Frank. Okay, are we in that one? There we go. Okay, we're started. Everything's looks straight. Wham bam, there we are, ma'am. Wham bam. So you can do what they tell you to do, but I've found that it really doesn't do anything. I mean, those things they're just really not that hard to get in. They tell you to do this. See, it's solid. It's not, it's down. So this is where I gotta put them in, and you see how it's like Cummins didn't bend them very good. Anyway, they just don't fit good. Now these here, these fit awesome. These don't fit where they're crap. It's like they need to be bent. 'Cause they're already bent, messed up. Okay, so to get this to work, I have to put them up in there. Then I gotta push these tubes down just till they want to start. There, like that. And then you can go ahead and give her the old heave ho, and there they are. So those are in. These right here are the links that go in there. So I just put a little chocolate sauce in here for a little lubrication, because they don't lube them. I see no oil, no shit in these injectors whatsoever, which kind of concerns me. You know, are they even going to work? They've been sitting so long. It may be a purchase I regret. I hope not. All right, you're not going to believe what I did. I am beside myself at what I did, but I made a major mistake. So I was putting push tubes in, and I got here to this exhaust one right here, and it wouldn't go in. So I looked down there, and I couldn't see the socket. So I pulled this cam follower out, and unbelievably, that last roller rocker I put on there was upside down. I just can't figure out how I missed that roller rocker on the cam follower. That just blows me away. Absolutely blows me away, but we're done. So that's all that matters. We're finitoed, finished. Even got them numbered right. Got them turned right and everything. Woohoo! Mr. Griffith's hiding bones. Where are you gonna hide that one, buddy? They're over there? Please no. Probably in this sheet, maybe. I can dig in there. You gonna stuff it under there? Good work. So I'm watching him while Mrs. Jpaydirt leaves. And then I need to go back outside. I'm doing some cleaning out on the back of the service truck. And then he can go back to his fort at the house if he wants. Boy, he's working on that one. He's gonna get her stuffed under there. What a dog. Corgis are quite the characters. All my clothes have corgi glitter all over them. Good boy. You ready to do another one? You ready? Oh, there you go. Oh. Grunting like a pig. He's a fat pig. We're going over there somewhere. All right. Okay, I wanted to go through some comments today. It's Sunday. Got the oil pan on. Got the engine on the 1693 stand. This is the video, what did I call that? Valves, head seats, and whatever. I torqued the heads down and all that. RPM Mechanical says, I think when owners complain about what good shop charges to completely rebuild an engine, they should go watch this video series. Good work. It's a lot of work. This has taken me way longer than I thought, but I can't be out here every day like a regular mechanic working on it. Don't make my living from rebuilding engines. Anyway, let's see. That's a long comment. Wow. Grant Nickerson says, Rickerson, Granter X, I don't know. Grant Rickson. Professor Jpaydirt and timing class. Interesting stuff. Yeah, timing. So the first time I did it, I videoed it with my DJI, and you couldn't see as well, so I videoed it after I was completely done, and I realized that I had made a mistake. I got out my good Canon camera, which is what I'm filming myself with, and set it up because it takes really good video. And I just kind of ran through it. And if you notice, the dial wasn't exactly on 0 and blah, 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 because I couldn't, I'm looking at it crooked and I couldn't really see it. So, but I did check all three and they were good. So I just kind of wanted to show how the procedure goes. MFC says, whenever Engineers Blue is in play, be sure to check that your phone has none on it or you get blue ear. Thanks for the content. Yeah, you get around welders with cutting torches and they spark it up on acetylene and do that to guys' goggles. He puts them on. Bill Potts Messel said, I am surprised you made the mistake, but not surprised that you caught it. You do great work and check yourself just to make sure. Yeah. So the other dumb one, and I'll have to see if I filmed it, I'll show it to you. I was putting the last push tube in the second cam follower box, and it wouldn't go in, so I got a light and shined it down there. There was no socket showing, so I took the cam follower out, and I can't believe I did this, but when I was putting the cam follower together, that last roller, I put it in upside down. So I had to drill the hole in the plug, put a self-tapping screw in there, and it brought the plug out. Then pulled the shaft out, turned the rocker roller over, put it back on right, and I had a lot of the old plugs that came out of them, because you take one out and then you can just drive the shafts and it pushes them out. So I had a spare plug, so I put that in there. I was just beside myself when I saw that. I couldn't believe I did that. Bill Tuss says, just finished overhauling my C15 with performance head studs. Those babies torqued to 440 foot-pounds final. I was smoked when I got done with that. Yeah, I'll bet you would be. Mr. DLC says, kick-ass job, Mr. Jpaydirt. Bravo. Now, to slingshot or not to slingshot? That is the question. Scott Reed says, been waiting for this one. Had a Butch 6099 says, had a good laugh with the whack-a-mole with the lapping compound on the valve seats at the Cummins County Fair. Jeff, I would stick to Caterpillar engines in the future. Yeah, I found that video. I just perusing through, I think, Instagram, and I saw that, and I'm like, man, that dude does that a lot. I don't know what that does to sit there and beat on them constantly. If you didn't do a good job of grinding them, I guess that's what they do, but if you do a good job, that's not necessary. Miss Chef 18 says, enjoy the video, bro, but got completely lost after you said there's the plan. Here's the plan, Ken. I don't remember what I said, Ken. I really don't. Tim Cope says, odd jig timing. Been over 20 years since I have done that. So Johnny Knoxville says, g'day, mate. G'day. I just noticed when you set the second injector gauge on 0, it wasn't actually on 0. Yeah. Anyway, so I think I already addressed that one. That was just for explaining how it works. When you do it, be damn careful. Make sure your gauges are zeroed. Island McMahon says, when you were torquing the head bolts, I was expecting to see the engine spin on the table. Then I saw it move. It moved a lot, and so one time it swung clear around. I had to drag it back. Being as it was on the cardboard, it sort of held it. If it was metal to metal, I don't know what it would have done, but I had to change the way I was pulling on the wrench. Forrest Gump says, just like my Jenny, I'll never forget. Never forget what? So Mark Dauncey says, I must be a bit slow. How come if the valve stem needed to rise, why couldn't you just recut the seat deeper? Anyway, as expected, Jeff won. Thanks for your honesty and real world video. And then Redgrave responded, the valve wasn't short. The one next to it was tall. Yeah, that was the problem. You hit that nail right on the head. I thought there was something wrong with that valve. I was like, no. The other one next to it was just high. A lot of guys, I asked how much force was on that head. D6C 10K4 said, don't know how big the head bolts are, but I found a chart for clamp pressure. Grade 8, 5/8 by 11 torque to 220 foot-pounds dry gives about 20,000 pounds of clamp force. Wow. Jesse Qualley says, you forgot to mention while you were checking the timing, you have to shim the rocker back to change the timing, and this timing procedure is to check if you have the right shim gasket on your rocker box. If you check the engine tag, it will give you a timing code, and if you run the code, it will give you the shim for the rocker box, and you can cheat and just use that gasket if you have the same cam as the motor come with from the factory. It doesn't have the same cam. It has a genuine Cummins cam. I got surplus off eBay, same part number. Has new rollers and new pins. But when we took it off, the size of the gaskets were printed on the gaskets, and I wrote them in the book here. So number 1 and 2 box had 42 thousandths gaskets, and number 3 had a 37. So that I just went back with that, and it came out just fine. It was all within spec. I didn't know you could run the engine code and find that out. I wouldn't know where to look to find that. If I called Cummins, I'll bet if I got technical, they could help me. I have done that before, and they did. Matt Wilson says, did you, the other 2 cam followers set? Yeah, I did them. ADAMB4C says that seat cutting tool you're using is very scary in my book. You need a better seat cutting tool. I own that same kind of seat cutter, and you have to keep a good eye on what you're doing with it. Like it can remove. Yeah, if you're cutting cast iron seats, you better do them by hand, but these are super hard seats for diesel exhaust. Anyway, not the diesel exhaust is, it's just for diesels. They're really hard, and I had to take a lot off of them. Ivan the Therton says, you reckon you're go to Mates next year? Mates, Matt's? Probably. That's why in my short I was asking if I should build the 1693 with a switchblade and bring it. Tits. Scott, for you, tits. Brian Anderson wanted to know, you spent so much time with Cat engines, so how do the Cummins engines compare? So my scrapers are double overhead cams, so you got one big head, put the cams on, and you set your cam followers have an adjuster to set the lash, so all that stuff goes on in one piece. The only thing bad about a Cummins is the timing procedure and those rocker boxes and push tubes, and then setting the injector, getting all that stuff in there. It's just a lot of stuff. Nobody builds engines like that anymore. They just don't. Al Richter says, I didn't know they use TTY bolts. That's torque turn. Yep, they do. Scott Reed says, you didn't explain the rocker shims at all or why it's important to be accurate. How do we know how thick to make our rocker shims? I'm going crazy here. Help, Jeff. Well, Scott, like I said, I just put the same thickness back on that I took off, and then the gentleman before that I talked about mentioned that your timing code will tell you. The reason it's super important is it affects your timing, and timing on a diesel engine has lots of effects. You can soot the oil up, it can slobber fuel, it's too far advanced, you create horrendous cylinder pressure, which isn't good on the head gaskets. Niels says, is that your motorcycle? I think that's Neil Strong. No, that's Jake's Indian. Travis Schigel says, Jeff, you're working way too hard. We just put paint on a socket for torque turning bolts. Use a 3/4 air gun. Yeah, I guess I could have done that, but then I wouldn't have been able to show you how much work it was. Scott Weeks says, show them to me, Jeffy. Scott wants to see titties. W. Logue says, paint the socket, yes. Impact on cylinder, head bolts, no. Don't drink the says, in response to W. Logue, he says, why I don't let people work on my stuff anymore if I can help it. They all want to take a shortcut to make flat rate. Travis says it's a common It's common practice and has been done successfully for years. Don't Drink says, despite what hacks the YouTubers are teaching, concussive impacts is not a proper torque angle method. And then W. Logue says, head gaskets don't like it, rods and mains all day long. So I don't know, maybe Brian Block can chime in here and give us the skinny on that. He has a master's in mechanical engineering, he would know. So anyway, just remember, I'm an older man and you can trust what I say.